Oh, for the love of Spielberg, welcome to another installment of What's Your Favorite Movie? The movie podcast all about favorite films, our favorite movies, why we love them, etc., etc., etc. And I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, whatever it may be, to join us here on this fledgling podcast. My name is Ed South. You can follow our show at WYF Movie Podcast, WYF Movie Podcast on Twitter. And also, I want you to be interactive with us on Twitter. Tell us your favorite movie. Tell us anything you want, and we will incorporate it into the show. Speaking of incorporating things into the show, let's say hello to our guest, our What's Your Favorite Movie favorite friend, Diana. Diana, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here again.
You are our Tom Brokaw. When someone cancels, I call Diana, and she's there at a moment's notice. Because she watches lots of movies, and we like to talk about movies, don't we?
We do.
We do. And we are going to talk today about a very serious subject, Halloween. It's very serious. I would say, I said this last year on our crappy Halloween show, no holiday has absorbed more from the films, from the movies, than Halloween. So much of Halloween is from movies. Like some of the major icons of Halloween are Freddy and Jason and Pumpkin Man and
Pumpkin Man
and whatever. So but I don't like horror movies. I don't watch a whole lot of horror movies. You like the horror movies?
I like creepy movies. I like scary movies. I don't much care for like slasher movies because most of those are terrible.
The whole slasher genre is kind of dead, wouldn't you say? Or is it live on in DVD?
It's different. It's different than it used to be. That's for sure. They don't make terrible slasher movies like they did when we were kids.
The good old days. The good old days. One thing, and with Halloween movies, I mean, you got horror movies, you got Halloween movies that are fun, like Hocus Pocus, or
is that fun?
It is fun.
Okay. Or
Nightmare Before Christmas, or something like that.
Right.
Is that a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? Shut up and watch it. Don't worry about it. So I said, there's so many films about dead people, like dead people as a character, and that's such an unrelatable experience.
Right.
Nobody ever has watched a movie while they are dead.
That we know of.
But it's like the body switching. No one has, to our knowledge, no one has ever really switched bodies, bumped heads, and woke up as their mother, or vice versa.
And yet there are an awful lot of movies.
Not only are there an awful lot of them, I've seen every single one of them. Thank you very much. So, movies with dead people. And I said, Diana, what are some good movies starring dead people? And Diana did her homework and came up with a list of Being Dead is Hilarious.
Yep, movies where being dead is, or at least ostensibly hilarious. These are all comedies that have dead people.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing just comedies. All right.
That is what this list is. These are all comedies, which, what a weird premise.
Yeah.
That being dead is freaking hilarious.
Hilarious. So Diana came up with, what'd you say, 12?
It is actually 12 films. I kind of lumped 3 together because they're all based on the same thing.
Gotcha. But we'll race through this list, and I haven't seen this, so I'm excited to...
You're excited
to remember some bad movies, because I've probably seen 80% of them. How many of these do you think I've seen? Or you probably know I've seen some of them.
You've definitely seen a bunch of these.
I probably dragged you to some of them back in our childhood, but go ahead. All right, so it's 12 movies where being dead is hilarious. Number 1.
Number 1, Topper, 1937.
Oh, you went back a ways.
Yep.
Topper.
Yep. Yeah, which, it's just madcap fun being dead.
But he's a ghost in that, right?
Right. So the couple is they're dead, they're ghosts, and apparently the afterlife means that they can spend all of eternity tormenting a curmudgeonly guy. So
that's pre-zombies.
Right. But, what's funny about this is that, there were a whole series of, sequels, and there was a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, why do people love this so much? I don't know. Anyway,
and he's not even like a sheety ghost like Casper. He's just like a dude.
They're just
he's like a little transparent sometimes.
They're just a couple that torments this guy.
Come on,
because it's fun.
We want sheety ghosts. Number 2.
All right, moving on. So these are the 3 that I lumped together. Here Comes Mr. Jordan, 1941.
What?
Heaven Can Wait, 1978. and Down to Earth, 2001.
Ah, okay.
So these are all based on the 1930s play, Heaven Can Wait. And
I did not know those were all related. Well, I never even heard of.
they're all based on the same play.
What was it called? Curmudgeon Mr. Jones?
So the earliest one was Here Comes Mr. Jordan from 1941.
I've seen, and then the third one is Chris Rock,
Right.
and it was not good.
I've seen, that's the only one that I've seen bits of, and I mean, whatever. But it's the same premise,
An angel comes back.
Somebody dies, and then they come back to Earth, and the wackiness ensues.
Yes.
Whatever. So moving on.
Number 3.
Oh, Heavenly Dog, 1980.
Oh, that's such a good movie. No, it's not.
So, being dead as a dog, hilarious.
Chevy Chase is a detective, I think,
Yes.
or something, and he gets murdered.
Right.
And then he gets sent back to Earth to solve his own murder. Why not?
Why not? As a dog.
As Benji.
Right.
It stars Benji. I think Benji, this is how sexist Hollywood is. I believe Benji gets credited over the female lead. It's Chevy Chase, Benji, and I think Jane Seymour maybe is in that.
I'm not sure.
That was a go-to as a child. Yes, good times.
All right, next on the list. You're going to love this one. Meatballs 3, Summer Job, 1986.
Where Sally Kellerman comes back. She's the porn actress, and she has to come back and help the guy lose his virginity.
Yep.
Maybe I've seen it.
Terrible. I've seen bits of it. It's bad.
And let me just take this opportunity to share my theory. Nobody, including me or anybody that's worked on the film, has ever seen Meatballs 4. Nobody has ever seen Meatballs 4. I defy anyone to tell me they've seen. If you've seen Meatballs 4, let us know on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. All right, what are we at? Number 5?
Number 5, Chances Are, 1989.
Is that Sybil Shepherd?
Is she in
or
that?
Robert Downey?
Right. So Robert Downey Jr., dies, comes back, and hooks up with his daughter. Why not?
Why not? Who plays the daughter?
That one was
Marissa Tomei?
That one was Mary Stuart Masterson, wasn't it? I believe.
I don't remember. I saw it in the theater in 1989.
I've seen it, but not since 1989. It's dumb. Number 6, Weekend at Bernie's, 1989.
Now, he doesn't come back.
Right. But the corpse is a main character through the whole movie.
For 2 movies.
This was surprisingly a huge success.
Yes.
Lots of people saw this in the theater. I don't know why.
I did.
And it's another one of those movies that there's no way they could make this movie now. Like, it's just, the premise is so gross.
Yes.
It's so gross. Like, oh. Anyway, number 7.
Gross and yet hilarious.
But not really.
Yes.
Number 7, file this under really not hilarious, Ghost Dad, 1990.
Ghost Dad, directed by Sidney Poitier.
That's right. Oh, Sidney Poitier.
Ghost Dad was one of my video store. When I worked at a video store, that was one of my go-tos to put on the screen where you could just drop in and out of it. And, so that's some Ghost Dad.
But, I mean, what was that about with, letting Bill Cosby make these
movies?
Really, horrendously unfunny movies.
True.
I don't know what that was about.
Leonard Part 6? And he dies in a car accident and then, comes back to life or is just a ghost and he walks through walls and he, yells at his daughters.
Right. It's not funny.
Whatever. He's also in The Devil and Max Devlin, which probably has something to do with the afterlife, but I can't remember any plot points, but...
Whatever.
There you go.
All right. Number 8, Death Becomes Her.
I knew that would be on the list.
1992.
Yes. Goldie Hawn.
Saw that in the theater.
Goldie Hawn, Meryl Streep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Never seen it.
Oh, really?
She's got a big hole in her, though, in the middle of it. I remember that.
It's kind of gross, and at the end of the day, really not that funny. But, being dead and mangled is hilarious.
Hilarious!
Oh, number 9, Heart and Souls, 1993. Yet another Robert Downey Jr. movie.
Robert Downey Jr. loves coming back from the dead. That's the one with Elizabeth Shue.
Right. So he's not dead, but he interacts with a bunch of dead people who are his guardian angels.
Aww.
Yeah, it's dumb. I saw that in the theater as well.
Wait, are guardian angels dead people?
Well, in this case, they're
okay.
Yeah, they're all dead people.
They're all dead people.
Yep.
And finally,
number 10, Over Her Dead Body, 2008.
Oh, is that Is that Desperate Housewives, isn't that?
Oh,
Gloria?
I
Ava
don't-
Longoria?
I think so.
Somebody?
I think I've actually seen this for some reason, and it left zero
I was
impression.
going to say, it's always good when you say, I think I saw it,
Yeah.
and it's only like 10 years old.
It left zero impression because it's just dumb.
I guess you left it off the list because I brought it up yesterday. My Boyfriend's Back, where the boy dies in a car accident, comes back to life to take his date to the prom. That is a movie and a half. Look up My Boyfriend's Back. And I don't even think it has the song My Boyfriend's Back in it. It's just named after it.
It's just stupid.
Diana, thanks for doing your homework on Being Dead is Hilarious.
My pleasure.
And if anyone has an additional Being Dead is Hilarious to add to the list, please do so. We'd love to hear from you. Let's talk about a real horror movie. Now, I'm not a horror movie connoisseur, and I think I told all these stories last year at Halloween, but I saw Poltergeist in the 4th grade. Absolutely, positively petrified me. There have only been a small handful of horror films I've seen between Poltergeist at age 9 back in 1980, whatever, early 80s, until a couple of nights ago where I watched something and saw something that I will never get out of my head. And it's not even a true horror movie, but we'll get to that. But when I said horror movies, Diana said right away, The Changeling.
The Changeling from 1980,
Yes.
starring George C. Scott.
And Trish Van Devere. That's his wife in real life. And they made at least seven movies together. In the 70s, early 80s, America was gripped with George C. Scott mania to the point where we wanted to watch him and his wife cavort on the screen through several adventures.
Right.
Why not, Ed? So The Changeling means swapped child, is what that means.
Well, so yeah, right. In this case, yes, that's what this was about, or that's a big piece of the movie. This movie is, honestly, that I can remember, the only movie that just absolutely terrified me as a kid. I saw this movie on TV and it scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, like, I remember watching Poltergeist and that didn't scare me at all.
It did me.
That I thought was hilarious. I laughed through Poltergeist. This movie
I cried.
scared me so bad. And
Does
yeah.
it hold up for today's audiences?
I believe it does. I believe it's a little bit convoluted and hard to follow, through the middle and end parts, but I think it's definitely worth it if you can get your hands on this movie, which chances are you probably can't, but
It's not streaming anywhere that we noticed.
not that I'm aware of, but it's definitely worth checking out if you can find it, because it is creepy as hell.
Would you say it's psychological thriller horror? Is it bloody?
It's not bloody at all. It's a supernatural thriller. There's definitely a psychological element to it. It messes with your head, and there are parts that are just legitimately like startling.
I'm not going to say would I like it, but would I regret having watched it at the end?
Since you're a big baby, probably, but it's well done, and it's not gory at all.
It's on Martin Scorsese's list of top 11 scariest horror films of all time, which also sealed the deal that I probably would not watch that.
Well, unless you're a big baby like Ed,
Biggest.
yes, you should definitely watch this movie if you can find it.
The Changeling, 1980. It's directed by Peter Medak, who also directed Species 2, filmed in our hometown of Columbia, Maryland.
Indeed.
How excited was I when the Species 2 crew came to town?
You were pretty excited.
Darn tootin'. And if you're thinking The Changeling sounds familiar, it's because Clint Eastwood made a movie in 2008 called Changeling, not The Changeling, just Changeling, and that is an unrelated film.
Right.
And this guy also directed a movie in 1980 called The Babysitter with William Shatner and Patty Duke, which I have not seen, but it is one of at least 27 movies called The Babysitter, one of which being a brand new film called The Babysitter, which just came out 2017 to Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. And this is a horror comedy. Would we say that?
Yeah, I think so.
and it was voted one of the most liked unproduced screenplays of the past few years. So it finally got produced. Directed by Mick G. Mick G, who did Charlie's Angels and We Are Marshall, which we've talked about before, and a really above-average romantic comedy called This Means War with Reese Witherspoon, if you've ever seen that. So anyway, so I saw the trailer for The Babysitter, and it looked kind of up my alley because I like high school kind of movies, and it looked kind of funny, and the horror aspect was low. And I would say, and you saw it, you watched most of it. Well, you gave up halfway through.
Yeah, I gave up halfway through.
I thought about it. So I enjoyed it as much. I don't watch horror movies at all, and I thought this would be like 95% comedy with just a little bit of horror, but it was a little more. It was just very, very graphic.
Yeah, it gets pretty gory in there.
Very quickly, out of nowhere,
Right.
It just happens, and it freaked me the crap out. I was like, oh my God. Like, I was not expecting that, so it was very bloody very quickly.
Right.
And
I mean, it's done in a way that it's supposed to be funny, but I honestly, I can't say that I recommend this movie. I didn't enjoy it that much. I mean, it has some parts that are very funny, but they don't add up to, in my opinion, a good movie.
But if you're looking for a silly horror movie for a Halloween evening,
Right.
It could do the trick. It gets a little spooky at parts. Nobody of really any notoriety in it, like the cast. They were all good, but Bella Thorne and Ken Marino were the only two people I recognized. So there you go. And I had just seen Bella Thorne in another horror comedy, Boo, A Medea Halloween.
How was that?
It was fine. I guess when you go into a Medea film, you're only expecting a certain level of...
Yeah, the bar's pretty low.
The bar is set at Medea level, I would say. It's not low. It's just a certain brand of jejuness.
Sure.
But I was watching Boo, Medea Halloween, and I was like, this must have taken like 20 minutes to film. It's like a very simple film, and then I found out they actually shot the entire movie in 6 days.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
And then Boo Medea 2 is coming out this weekend, I think. So
Oh, sweet.
go check that out, everybody. Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. So, The Babysitter scarred me, and that will be another 10 years before I watch any... Well, I was said that night when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's another 10 years before I watch another horror movie. But then last night, for the sake of this radio and podcast program, it's not really a radio show, I watched what I would consider probably my favorite horror movie. I don't know why, but Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. A classic. And I was nervous watching it because I was still freaked out about, oh God, what happened in The Babysitter is terrible. Oh, it's so horrible. I'm holding my head again because I don't want to give it away, but jeez. So when I was a kid, I had this book, this big thick book of like movie reviews. I'm pretty sure it was a Consumer Reports movie reviews because everyone goes to Consumer Reports for movie reviews. But it was like a huge, huge thick book. I tried to find it online last night. I could find no reference of it whatsoever, so maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, and I would just pour over this and read movie reviews. And one that I would always stumble upon was Slumber Party Massacre, which that name is ridiculous, number one. It's like so obvious. And then it's about a guy who goes around killing girls at a pajama party with a power drill, which I thought was hysterical too, because why? So I rewatched it last night. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's been you haven't seen it recently.
Not since we were kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a movie. It's a good slasher film. It's a horrible film, but I think as a slasher film where you just want to watch a bunch of people get chopped up, it's pretty decent. It's a little suspenseful. It's a little funny. It was actually written as a parody, and then they bought the script and just filmed it straight forward, so it doesn't have a whole lot of funnies. But it's basically girls in pajamas and other lesser forms of dress getting drilled by a dude with a power drill. But it wasn't very gory. And there's one part where the pizza man... It's spoiler time, folks. It's 1982. You should go see it. But the pizza guy shows up and they open the door and he's got his eyes drilled out. That's about as gory as it gets. And then he falls over on the pizza and the girl pulls the pizza out and eats it anyway. So...
As you do.
Here's some fantastic little tidbits, though, about Slumber Party Massacre, which is readily available. You should be able to find it easily if you want to. Actually, it's streaming on Amazon right now, so should have told you that. You could have watched it.
Oh,
I know. You'll watch it tonight. You'll all watch it tonight.
Yeah.
It's only 70 something minutes, so it's a nice breezy murdering guy with a power drill.
it's breezy.
It was directed by Amy Jones, which this is a very notatious moment in film history because it's one of the few slasher films that was actually directed by a woman, since most of them are horribly sexist and sexual. So this was directed by a woman. She was a film editor, and she wanted to direct, and she got offered to direct Slumber Party Massacre at the same time she had just been offered to edit a movie called E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She turned down E.T. and directed Slumber Party Massacre. Sounds insane, but she probably made the right choice. Like, how satisfying is it to edit a film when you could direct a film, right?
Sure.
So she directs a movie about power drills going into people's boobs, and she passed on one of the highest grossing movies of all time. But this is even the best that I didn't know. I knew that factoid. She co-wrote Slumber Party Massacre. Later, like 10 years later, she wrote the motion picture experience Beethoven.
Oh, dear.
A movie about a large dog. A large dog that does what, Ed? It's just about a large dog. He slobbers. That's a good movie. Y'all like some
How many of those did they make?
That would be a great, let's dissect the franchise. I think we're up to 7. God. 7 or 8 Beethovens. 7 or 8. I've seen the first 2, and that's all. I bailed. Did not see Beethoven's Treasure Hunt. Did not see Beethoven's Christmas, whatever. The first 2 Beethovens is Charles Grodin is the dad.
Right.
And then he gets replaced by Dave Thomas.
Oh, jeez.
And then he gets replaced by Judge Reinhold.
Oh.
So Merry Christmas, Beethoven. Merry Christmas. Slumber Party Massacre, 1982. You guys should watch that and enjoy it. But hey, speaking of a movie that's gone on for way too long, Diana also brought up the Amityville Horror.
Horror. And all of those related films. There's a bunch of them.
I will tell them all to you in just a moment, but go ahead. So the Amityville Horror is about an incident that actually purportedly happened.
Well, so the original movie from 1979?
1979, yes.
Right. Is inspired by actual events. It's a strange movie. It's hard to say that I recommend it. It's not even all that long, but there are stretches of it that are just so intensely boring where just nothing happens. And then, it ends with blood and grossness. And it's a strange movie. But somehow, for whatever reason, it has inspired, what's the count? 18 movies?
I think so.
Yeah.
Who's in the original? Margot Kidder?
Right, Margot Kidder before she went insane, and
maybe this is why. Lois Lane, right? She was Lois Lane.
Right, and
Josh Brolin, his dad.
Right, James Brolin.
James Brolin.
Yeah.
What's James Brolin's best role ever?
God, I don't even know what else he's done.
Paging Mr. Herman. Paging Mr. Herman. His cameo at Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Anyway, he doesn't say Paging Mr. Herman. He's in that scene, though. Amityville Horror, 1979. Guys, I just want to read. This is. I didn't even know there was this many. I didn't know the Amityville Horror lived on, which is probably the title of one of these movies. But so 79, you get the Amityville Horror, huge success, followed by 82's Amityville 2, The Possession. And then in 1983, it was a law in 1983 that every horror franchise had to have its 3rd chapter come out and be in 3D. So we had Amityville 3D, which is odd because the actual events that in real life were in 3D. So that worked out. Then in 1989, we get Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes. Oh no. 1990, The Amityville Curse. 1992, Amityville 1992, It's About Time. That's a great title. What movie are you working on? Amityville 1992. It's about time. 1993, we had Amityville A New Generation. Not to be confused with Star Trek, The Next Generation. 1996, Amityville Dollhouse. And then they took 9 years off and waited until 2005, the Amityville Horror, which was a reboot, a modern reboot, Redux, with, who's in it? Green Lantern dude? Ryan Reynolds. Then in 2011, it picks up, folks. Then we get a little crazy. The Amityville Haunting. 2013 is the Amityville Asylum. Here we go. February 2015, Amityville Death House, followed 2 months later by the Amityville Playhouse. The story was so intriguing that audiences wanted it immediately. So the Death House and the Playhouse. Then, next year, April 2016, Amityville Vanishing Point, followed 2 months later by Amityville Legacy, followed another 2 months later by Amityville Terror. August 2nd, Amityville Terror came out. August 5th, Amityville No Escape came out. How we do that, Amityville? That's the real mystery right there. How'd they get sequel out 3 days later? Wow.
Yeah.
And then there is Amityville The Awakening, which is coming out in the next couple of weeks. And that actually has Jennifer Jason Leigh in it, as well as the aforementioned Bella Thorne and Kurtwood Smith. Ooh, love us some Kurtwood Smith. No, we don't. So then, I didn't know, Diana says, the Amityville is connected to The Conjuring, which I did not know that.
Right.
That is wild.
So there's that whole series of movies that are based on the actual people that were involved in the actual Amityville original thing. And so how many movies are connected to The Conjuring?
We have The Conjuring, 2013, which then spun off Annabelle in 2014. Then we went back to The Conjuring 2 in 2016. And then we went back to Annabelle Creation in 2017. There's also Conjuring 3 in development. And then 2 more movies that I read were based on images seen in The Conjuring. The Nun.
Yep.
And The Crooked Man.
Yep.
So they will be having their own movies.
Awesome.
And you will watch each and every one.
Well,
there is not enough duct tape in the world to get me to watch any of those, actually. But that Annabelle, hells to the no.
I have seen The Conjuring and Conjuring 2. They were clearly trying to make, like quality horror movies. I can't say that I recommend them, though. I didn't particularly... Like, there were parts of them that I enjoyed. I was like, oh, these are going along pretty well. But I'm really bothered by the whole, like, religious aspect of it. Because, like, it all comes down to, this wouldn't be happening if you were good Catholics. Yeah, so shut up.
You know what happens if you are a good Catholic? Watch The Keepers. That's what happens, folks. All right. Diana, are you ready to play this cleverly titled game, Which Witch is Which?
Oh, gosh, Ed, can we? I can't wait.
Here you go. And folks, by all means, please play at home. Here's what we do. I name the actress, and you tell me what movie they played a witch in.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Here we go. Dear old Sandra Bullock. Oh. What movie was she a witch in?
I don't know.
Speed? No.
No.
Practical Magic, 1989.
I haven't seen that.
Dear Sarah Jessica Parker.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. You should know this one.
I haven't seen any of these.
Hocus Pocus. All right. This one's important. Margaret Hamilton.
That would be the Wizard of Oz.
Bing. That is correct. Angelica Houston.
The Witches?
Yes, that's an obscure one. There
well,
you go.
I read the book, so.
Oh, I read the book.
Well, I did. I read the book as a kid, and so when it became a movie, I was like, oh yeah,
it's a pretty good movie.
I haven't seen the movie, but
produced by James Henson. All right, number 5, Michelle Pfeiffer.
I don't know.
I love her.
I know you do.
The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, yeah. I saw that in the theater, I think.
Ah, nice. Nicole Kidman.
Oh, was that Bewitched?
That is correct. We would also take Practical Magic.
Okay.
She played a witch twice, but
Wow.
yes, you only have to name one.
Oh, sweet.
And, ladies and gentlemen, Hollywood legend Angela Lansbury. What movie did she play a witch in?
Oh, crud. I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. She fought Nazis
Oh, crud.
when she wasn't a witch. Diana, the 1971 beloved immortal classic Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah.
Ah, that's a film right there. We could do a whole show about Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Could we, Ed? So, folks, you should take these movie titles and go watch them, right?
Or not.
The Changeling, you should watch The Changeling.
Yes. Watch that
You should
one.
watch The Babysitter if you want to watch a movie on Netflix for free and have some mild Halloween fun.
Okay.
And somewhere in the beginning, something horrible happens that I will never, ever get out of my head. Literally. The Slumber Party Massacre. If you like hardware and breasts, that's a great film to watch, right?
What an endorsement.
That should be on the back of the box.
Hardware and breasts.
And the Amityville Horror 1 through 64, paying special attention to Amityville 1992, It's About Time. That sounds like a dance film. Like, we're going to have a dance-off to save this haunted house. Ooh.
Do you have any concept of like how serious these
No.
yeah.
Most of them are made for the Amityvilles. Most of them were direct to DVD, but a few of them in there had limited theatrical release. And I would assume this new one with Jennifer Jason Leigh has some level of mild validity to it.
I guess. I mean, I know that the whole franchise has been, boosted by the Conjuring movies, and so people are interested in it again, but whatever.
Diana, your witch score was only 3.
I suck.
3 out of 7. I guess you don't know which witch is which.
No.
But tune in next time for Which Ghost is the Host. I don't know what that means. Folks, we hope you enjoyed this insanely fun installment of What's Your Favorite Movie, America's favorite movie podcast, right? Follow us on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. You can follow me at Ed South on Twitter. Diana, you do not enjoy the Twitter, do you? I think we've established that before.
I look at the Twitter, but I'm not actively Twittering, so.
You're Twitterless.
Yeah.
Send us an email, favemoviepodcast at yahoo.com. If you want to, recommend a movie we should watch or tell us your favorite movies, but you don't want to be on the show, any kind of back and forth is appreciated, folks. We need to pick it up in the social media department. That's what the kids are doing nowadays. Take it a step further, go over to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe to the show. Any of those things help us out and join the conversation on Facebook. I don't know how to find it on Facebook. I would imagine you type in what's your favorite movie and it comes up.
It does.
Instagram, also, you can do that. And share our posts and just spread the word of movie magic. Diana, thank you so much, and may all your Halloweens be Halloweeny.
Hey, thanks, Ed. It's been fun.
All right, guys, we will see you next time. Until then, it is Khaki Wishes and Cookie Dreams. Bye-bye.